Hey guys, who remembers this game? This is Ridge Racer Revolution for the PlayStation, came out in 1996, made by Namco. Let's check it out. Right, well, as far as I understand it, Ridge Racer Revolution is the second game in the series after just plain Ridge Racer. On this console, we also had Rage Racer, which I suppose you could say was Ridge Racer 3, and you also had Ridge Racer Type 4. There was loads of iterations of Ridge Racer on the other games consoles as well a little bit later. I think there was one on the PS2. There was certainly one on a couple on the Xbox and the PS3, and it even got onto the portable consoles as well. So there is one on the PSP and on the not so successful Sony Vita as well. So this is definitely one of the earlier ones, but despite the graphics, and when you watch this you'll instantly realise how dated it all looks, it still really is an awesome racer. Now, a staple of the Ridge Racer series has always been how arcadey it feels, even the newest ones right up to, well, at least Ridge Racer 6 and 7. They have a really arcadey feel. It's kind of funny now when so many games try to capture this arcadey feel. When games are trying to sort of copy that, this is the sort of thing they're trying to emulate. So let's have a look at what we have here. Now, first of all, the pre-title screen isn't an info screen or a logo like normal, it's actually a Galaga minigame. Now, shooting down all the spaceships, like so, unlocks a bunch of extra cars you can use. Now, I've been told that doing it with a set amount of shots lets you select what sort of time of day you want to play on the courses, but don't quote me on that because I've never seen that done. At first glance, it really doesn't seem like much. If you follow what I'm doing through the menus, you'll notice there's only 3 courses, and a mere handful of cars compared to most games now. This wasn't because the console couldn't handle it. If memory serves, Gran Turismo 2 had over 600 cars. Irrespective if it was a later game, it was on the same console. But the lack of choice doesn't feel like a bad thing, however, and if you're up for a night of Ridge Racer, it probably wouldn't even matter if there was only one track and one car to pick. Let me try and explain this. Now, as a racer, Revolution is really simple. Just look at this control scheme. There's 2 buttons. There's accelerate and brake, so there's basically go and stop. There's nothing else, no extra trimmings, no nitrous oxide, no different brakes, it's just go and stop. The simplicity really is a charm here. Now, to be honest, if you pick up any Ridge Racer, you'll notice the same thing. But when you get into the actual races here, you instantly notice how the car handles like nothing else you've ever played. There's no way I can go around this corner without braking, can I? Now, you always have to unlearn what most driving games have taught you to succeed here. The rules you're used to just don't apply anymore. This game will take you an age to master, but there is a sublime pick-up and playability. You can mess around with slides by briefly depressing the accelerator around corners, but if you hit a wall you'll literally just bounce off, giving you at the very worst a small speed penalty, and then you can carry on your way. It really is quite forgiving. There's also a fantastic, if kind of odd soundtrack. Now, it's not all arcadey stuff. Some of it seems to be sort of pretty heavy J-pop and hardcore, if I had to describe it. Again, it's not a bad thing. A punchy, pumping soundtrack like this actually kind of fits pretty well. Now, one thing I love about this is even if you're not the best at Ridge Racer, even if you're a middle pack runner for the most part, you always have one guy on the course who's your rival. In my case, it's this yellow guy. This guy will follow you and torment you whether you're near the back of the pack or the front. He is always there and the commentator makes sure you know about it, and nothing quite gives that sense of accomplishment like a good old one-on-one. And every race you do in this game puts you in that situation despite of the other 11 opponents. So you'll be gallivanting around the race course for a mere 3 laps. There's no option to turn it any higher unless you're doing things like time trials. And if you arise victorious after that, more power to you. If you don't though, it really doesn't matter, because win or lose, you get this. That's right. It's game over just after 1 race, and it's like this every time, no matter what you do. There is no real progression aside from a few unlockables. There's no championships, no buying parts, no saving and grinding for crap that makes your car accelerate a little bit quicker. There is nothing. It's like meeting up with an old friend, you know, you'll have a laugh together and then you'll go your separate ways until next time. This is something that current game creators should take note of, because here it's something that, you know, you can just pick up, play for a few minutes and forget about it. It really is great. Now, for only 3 courses, and they're not particularly long either, there is a lot of care and attention put into them. There's a decent variance in the scenery, well, as variant as you can get, I guess. There'll be times when you're racing through tight tunnels, other times you'll be going over huge bridges, wide mountain highways, that sort of thing. But you'll notice so many extra little bits dotted around if you look for them, and some of them will strike a real nostalgia nerve with a few of you. I mean, on some billboards you've got Air Combat, before it came the Ace Combat series, Tekken 1, and look at this, I've paused it here, but look at this. Is that a Negcon controller? I seem to recall it being called that, I could be wrong, but it's that controller that you could rotate the middle to sort of steer better. It was supposed to make racing games a bit better, but it definitely got overtaken by analog controls. It was a revolutionary idea at the time, but it only exists in memory now. Now in Ridge Racer you've got, like I said, a few cars to pick from. They all do much the same sort of thing. There is a bit of difference. I suppose you could split them into 2 types. You've got drift cars, where you can sort of more easily get into a sort of, well, a drift when you go around the heavier corners. And you've got grip cars, where you can't do that so easily, but their controlling is so responsive, you almost don't need to at all. And I suppose apart from the detail on the cars, there's not really a lot between them. I mean, I've given all the cars a good fiddle about with, and to be honest, that's the only thing you really notice. The cars that don't have much on their sort of drift stats, you can get around the corners without braking at all. If you fancy being a bit more stylish, then the drift cars are there for you to have a play with. If the Ridge Racer series is something you're interested in, it's definitely worth getting used to the drift cars, because as the series has progressed, drifting becomes a lot more important. Now, as I said a little bit earlier, there's a lot of extra little bits in this if you only take a few moments to look for them. Even when you push the pause button, instead of it just saying paused, you get a small scrolling message saying, let's take a coffee break. But I guess, what more do you really need to know about the game? I mean, Ridge Racer Evolution marks an era where it was sort of quality over quantity, and simplicity ruled over some of the more lavish gimmicks in racing games now, like how you can instantly respawn or even rewind time. It's just as simple as it gets, but refined to perfection. It really is awesome. Now, I'm not a die-hard retro gamer. I do like some more sort of modern offerings when it comes to racing games, but it seems to be every game you play now, they're trying to overcomplicate things like they have to, even with like the latest Tomb Raider that's just come out. Tomb Raider to me has always been quite linear. Really, there's levels, I know there's puzzles, but there is a beginning and end of every level, and no matter what you're playing, whether it's the Ridge Racer, even the newest one, Ridge Racer Unbounded, you've got this constantly sort of having to grind to get credits so you can get new cars, constantly getting more skills. Everything is like this. That there is no games you can really just pick up now that are new, that you can play for a couple of minutes if you've only got a few minutes and put them down, you know, without worrying about ranks or online leaderboards and people getting ahead of you. I guess I'm going quite off track here, but I guess it's, you know, my way of really saying that, you know, there is a place for these sorts of games, and I think it's been overlooked, and that's why this is such a fantastic game to play, just the simplicity of it all. And you know, it's just a game you can pick up, enjoy, but at the same time there's still lots of things to master. You know, if you do go down the drifting route for controlling, you know, you could never be too good at that. But anyway, I hope this has been a welcome blast from the past for some of you, and thanks for watching.